All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start with breaking news in baseball. The San Francisco Giants have fired Gabe Kapler as their manager. Moving over to the Padres, they're still alive somehow. They take on the Chicago White Sox 4:40 today in Chicago. The reason why they're still alive is because last night's Marlins-Mets game got postponed in the top of the ninth inning with the Marlins leading the Mets 2-1. That game is scheduled to possibly resume Monday if there's anything at play there. Again, the Padres need the Marlins, the Cubs to go 0-3 in their final weekend series here, and they also need the Reds to lose 2 of 3 to this weekend to get in. Moving over to NFL action this weekend, Austin Eckler, he is ruled out for the Chargers. Deebo Samuel for the 49ers is doubtful for that game. And tomorrow, Aztecs, they take on Air Force, 5 p.m. kickoff. 3 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. We'll be at Ale Smith Brewing Company for the pregame show starting at 3 o'clock right here on San Diego Sports 760. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour one of Jon and Jim. We are at Fair Play. What a great spot this is in North Park. Kick off your weekend with us here. Padres will get underway in about 90 minutes or so. Must win for the Padres. Plus, as Jim said, they need help. So our eyes are on, of course, this weekend series in Chicago against the White Sox, where somehow the Padres remain alive. We talked a little bit about in the Fusion what happened last night in New York, where the Mets and Marlins didn't conclude their game. And in addition to that, you have the backdrop of what's been happening in Northern California with the Giants deciding to move on from Gabe Kapler. So Kapler is out. Is this going to impact the Padres and Bob Melvin or not? Kevin Acee is going to join us coming up at 3:30. So I feel like it's a little bit like one eye on the future, one eye on today on the south side where the Padres are going to take on the White Sox. Somehow they're like a cat. They've had 9 lives. They could have been eliminated Tuesday night when the Cubs led 6-0 against the Braves, but blew that lead. That was 3 days ago. Here we are. The Padres are still mathematically alive, entering the final weekend of the year. So a lot going on, whether it's Bob Melvin's future this weekend for the Padres in Chicago, A.J. Preller's future as well. And we'll talk to Kevin Acee, Jim, coming up in about 25 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening that are like very interesting. I think the Padres playoff chance, right? That it's out of their control, obviously, but there is a chaos scenario.
There's a chaos scenario.
There's a chaos scenario. And at this point in time, dude, I kind of want it that.
You want to get to Sunday where they still have something to play for?
I want to get a Monday.
Monday would be incredible theater.
I want to get to Monday morning.
10 a.m. Pacific.
Because that's the restart of the game would be at 1:10 Eastern, right?
2 outs, top of the ninth inning. Marlins leading 2-1.
And then you get to the bottom of the ninth inning, and if the Marlins win, the Padres are eliminated.
And if the Mets win, they just sent the Padres to the postseason.
I need
in that scenario.
I can't tell you how badly I need that scenario to happen, because that would be just the ultimate Padres chaos that we've never seen before. It would be incredible. Now, do I think if that happens in the Padres make the postseason that there shouldn't be any changes? No, but I do want to see this like chaos through Sunday night. If they get to Saturday night and they're going into Sunday with the chance, does Blake Snell pitch? Is he going to go out there? Like
Blake Snell pitches.
Who's starting? That's going to be an amazing theater to watch as well. There is a chaos scenario here that you couldn't even script if you wanted to try to put it into like a movie, but it's there. It's a possibility. It could happen. The likelihood of it happening, very slim, but it's there. And then with what happened today with the Giants, makes things even more interesting with the Padres as far as off the field stuff goes, because the Giants today fired their manager, Gabe Kapler. You don't think that they're monitoring what the Padres are doing with Bob Melvin? Like, I think they're watching that very intently.
Worst case scenario is you move on from Bob Melvin, he goes to San Francisco, and it's deja vu all over again.
Worst
I mean,
case,
that is
100%.
There's nothing comparable to that. And when people talk about the San Diego sports curse, it would be because of something like that. If that plays out as simply as that, now I think there's still things to be figured out. Like Bob Melvin's under contract, but then again, he was under contract in Oakland when he ended up in San Diego. Bruce Bochy was under contract in San Diego when he ended up in San Francisco. So that still obviously has to be determined. But we've been reading for weeks, Jim, about the relationship between A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin. And there have been those that have said for months, well beyond weeks, that Bob Melvin is not long for San Diego, whether it's by his choice or the organization's choice. And now that Gabe Kapler was fired, you have to make the correlation. You have to be willing to make that leap that his firing potentially has to do with the Giants' interest in Bob Melvin. Bay Area guy, managed for Oakland for, a decade plus. And can you imagine if that played out and then he goes on to have success with the San Francisco Giants? It's the worst possible scenario.
It is. We asked the other day, I think, like, what would be the worst case scenario for you going into next season? I said if they ended up firing Melvin and they retained Preller and Preller got another opportunity to hire a manager, that would be the worst case.
Well, add this on top.
But yeah, add this whole thing and this whole wrinkle to this whole entire, book right now, is that if that happens and then Melvin becomes the manager of the Giants, I just can't even imagine how you could sell that to your fans. I just don't. How if you fire Bob and then all of us see him go to San Francisco and then you hire another manager, good luck trying to sell that. And then you also have to think about what if they trade Juan Soto and then, the other moves they're going to make and Blake Snell. Yep. Like I was talking about this with J-Riff. Dude, imagine opening day next year in San Diego at Petco Park, and you got Bob Melvin and Blake Snell
in the other dugout
with the Giants. And then Blake Snell's getting his Cy Young Award with the Padres,
and Bob Melvin's getting a standing ovation because who's not gonna give Bob Melvin applause when he returns to San Diego? Like, you're gonna hold this on Bob Melvin?
Well, I think some delusional fans out there that think that this is all Bob Melvin's fault.
Right. Well, just like people were gonna hold Fernando Tatis Jr. accountable for PEDs. I mean, here's the thing. Again, we got to see how this weekend plays out, but I would say this as well. With all of the conversation around Bob Melvin's future and the relationship that he has, maybe an icy relationship with A.J. Preller, what if the Padres want Bob Melvin back, but he doesn't want to be back? And now that he knows that San Francisco is a viable option, at that point, if you're Bob Melvin, you can put your foot down. You can get out of this deal. You can negotiate with the Padres to get out of this deal. There's no way the Padres are going to fight tooth and nail to keep Bob Melvin, to keep him away from the Giants. After all that's been written, and after this season, they're going to put their foot down and say, no, you cannot interview with the San Francisco Giants. You cannot go there. No, that's probably not going to happen. Now, if Melvin wants to be back, maybe he's back. But if Melvin wants to pursue other opportunities, then, I don't see how the Padres are not going to allow that to happen after this year.
He has all the leverage here.
I would think so.
No, if he wants to leave,
they're going to hold him back. There's no way.
They can't do
There's
that.
no way. Not off this year.
Nope, you can't do that.
He's not in the midst of a 6-year deal where it's year 2.
Right. And you also can't tell me that once this season ends, that all eyes won't be pointed and looking at the Giants and the Padres. Like those, I feel like the through line here with the offseason moves is there because of the decision on Bob Melvin. And you're right. Bob could absolutely say, look, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me out of this deal.
Let me out of this deal right now. And he's the Giants the next day. That could it's a real possibility. It's a real possibility. Padres cannot do anything about that. Or the leverage here is Bob's saying, look, I want to stay.
So extend me.
Only if Preller's gone.
That's a real leverage play.
Hey.
I think that's a possibility.
Like, look, I will stay, but I can't work with him.
I would say I would stay, but extend me out because that's how I would look at it. But, you make a good point because Bob Melvin's not at the point in his career where it's all about money or dilly-dallying. Like, you want to win a World Series if you're Bob Melvin. What gives you a better chance? What gives you a better chance to win a World Series? I can't answer this right now. Is it working with A.J. Preller in San Diego for, let's say, 2024 and 25? Or is it going to San Francisco where it's been 2 down years? Can you get it back to a level of where they were getting to the postseason in the next couple of years in San Francisco under Melvin? Yeah, probably. With the expanded postseason. That's what I would ask myself about Melvin. Who do I trust more from a front office perspective to put me in a position where I can win at a high level? That's my question if I'm Bob Melvin. And it's hard to really think that he's going to put all of his trust in AJ Preller's hands.
I don't see it happening. I just don't. I just hearing the things that we have heard from people in the know that cover this team every day, it's hard to envision both of them back.
Who just wrote in the Bay Area about
Tim Kawakami?
Tim Kawakami's like, listen, it's with all due respect to Gabe Kapler, and this is fair. He's just saying an upgrade is Bob Melvin. Yep. It's not that it's Kapler, but it hasn't worked the last 2 years with Kapler, and a clear and visible upgrade is Bob Melvin.
Yeah.
And by the way, they don't want him in San Diego. It's staring you in the face. The move should be made now. And guess what they did 24 hours later? They fired Gabe Kapler.
They didn't wait. They said, enough's enough. We're not going to, try this thing out again, because that's where I feel like the Padres are at. Like, the Padres thinking is, we'll just do one more year. We just one more year. And look what has happened around baseball so far with moves.
So many changes.
The Red Sox, they're like, we're done. The Giants, we're done.
The
Mets, we're done.
White Sox. This is in season. You've had 4 organizations turn over in season.
Yep. And the Padres are sitting here like in this false reality of we're going to be fine. Potentially.
Or are they waiting for it to be officially official like the Giants did? Because the Giants made the move. Yeah. This is the day after they were officially eliminated, essentially, maybe 2 days later.
That's what I was talking with Jonathan about. Like, if the Padres officially get eliminated tonight, like if they lose tonight or
someone else wins,
and they get officially eliminated tonight, are they still going to wait for this meeting on Monday? I mean, it's too close to it, right?
It's like, what's the difference? Yeah. I mean, why would you do anything on a Saturday when the season ends on a Sunday?
Right. It's not like they got eliminated last week.
Right.
They're still in it technically.
Yeah, I don't understand the point. I understand from the Giants' perspective, they want to be ready. They've been eliminated. I think they want to be ready and proactive. I don't think you can really be proactive if you're AJ Preller right now. How could AJ Preller fire Bob Melvin with a day or two remaining in the season? We don't even know if AJ Preller is going to be back. Does AJ Preller have the authority to fire Bob Melvin?
It's a great question.
There's no.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does. Not until that Monday meeting.
Not with a full write-off from Peter or whoever's in charge.
Eric.
Or whoever, like the equity group. Like, right. I mean, it's I don't think that if the Padres got eliminated tonight, tomorrow's any moves are made, because you're so
Neither
close.
Do I.
You're so close to the end of the season. 2 games left. Just play it out. Oh,
here we go. By the way, that's a good segue. Actually, or gives me a moment to say this. Jim just sneezed shockingly. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, will join us coming up at 3:30 from Chicago. What is the sentiment heading into this final weekend, specifically regarding the future for Bob Melvin and, of course, for AJ Preller? He's been writing about it this week, about the discontent, about Peter Seidler's desire to keep both of those men in their roles. But has anything changed now that the Giants have made this move? And let me say this too.
Changed, John.
Let me say this real quick.
Yes, I should.
What about a Kapler for Melvin flip-flop?
Stop it.
Well, you've talked about it. First-year manager is a very tough sell. Very tough sell. Let me just – I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen.
Try selling Gabe Kapler as the new manager taking over for Bob Melvin.
Well, he managed 2 teams to the postseason, didn't he? Did he manage Philadelphia to the postseason? And then he had the 107-win team with San Francisco.
They did not go to the postseason in Philadelphia.
Okay, it's true. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So he would be a third-time manager. I'm with you. I think you can do better.
You can do a lot better.
Yeah.
You do a lot better. I think Gabe Kapler.
But can you, if you're Preller and Seidler and you're coming off this mess, who are you doing better with? We're talking about Ryan Flaherty, and we're talking about first-time managers, and we're talking about a mess of an organization.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about that yet.
Either have I, but I don't know how good of an option they're going to have.
Well, they're not, because there's not an option out there that would be better than Bob Melvin. There just is not. I mean, Bob Melvin has faults. Bob Melvin's has blame, right?
I agree.
He doesn't have his hands aren't clean in this whole situation.
He's taking accountability to his credit.
He is, to blame for things this year. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not for everything.
No way.
I think the overall reason why this season was what it was is not on Bob Melvin's hands. It's just not. That's in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things that Bob Melvin could have done differently this year for sure. I just think that it stems from a relationship at the top between him and AJ that has trickled down into everything. Like, it's just a trickle-down effect. When you don't have a good relationship with your GM and president of baseball operations, you can't tell me that doesn't affect things. You can't, because it absolutely does. To what extent, I don't know, but it affects things in a way. So, I would hate to think of, who's better than Bob Melvin? Who are they going to get other than Bob Melvin? Why Bob Melvin's doing a press conference in San Francisco?
You can't allow history to repeat itself when it comes to Padres Giants. The tie with Bruce Bochy. I mean, it's too recent of history. I get it. It's been 2 decades at this point. But the Giants literally won 3 World Series with your manager that you let walk to San Francisco. They let him pursue that Giants job. And now, a decade plus later, you would potentially allow that to happen again? How could you possibly be put in that situation? And then imagine if the Giants all of a sudden win again.
So Buster Only has just tweeted, and this is a very interesting tweet. I didn't even think about this, and it makes it, all that much more makes sense now.
Let me hear it.
He says, a lot of early speculation in the industry is that Bob Melvin would be a fit for the Giants' managerial vacancy if he parts ways with the Padres. He and Farhan know each other, of course, from their A's days together.
Yep.
I mean, Bob came here without even meeting AJ Preller. Now, I do think that's a little like maybe Preller was like, hey, I don't really want this guy, but I have to take him because I can't go with another first-time manager.
And my theory, I think Melvin doesn't take the job if he knows AJ. True. I think the fact that he didn't have a previous relationship with AJ Preller probably allowed him to make the leap of faith. I think if they'd worked together in Texas or San Diego, maybe he doesn't
I don't know about that one.
But listen, there's through lines everywhere. I don't need the through lines for Melvin to San Francisco. He grew up in the Bay Area and managed the A's to success for over a decade. That's enough of a through line. And then you add in Farhan Zaidi. There's more than enough to believe that if Bob Melvin was available, the Giants are going to interview him, and the Giants could absolutely offer him their managerial job.
It makes this meeting, or whatever we want to call it, on Monday that much more important because you are dealing with potential disaster, not only for potentially losing Bob Melvin, but him going to another team in your division. Like, there is so much riding on this Monday meeting now after what has happened today with the Giants. I feel like I think that this is more important than the final 3 games of the Padres' false hope of potentially making the playoffs.
I think the changes around baseball are going to impact Peter Seidler's ability to potentially do what he wants to do. Even if he wants to bring back both Melvin and Preller, his hands might be tied because other teams may show interest in Melvin, like San Francisco, that will basically put him in a spot where he's unable to retain him even if he wants him because he's a lame duck manager. There's no way you're holding on to him in a lame duck year or you're going to be able to force that hand through unless you extend him out. And that's if he wants the extension. So I feel like Melvin does have the leverage to do what he's going to want to do at the end of the year.
And if you're the Giants, this is a huge gamble for you because what if the Padres bring back Bob Melvin? Now it's like, well, we kind of shot our shot here and we were hoping that Melvin would be available, and now Melvin's not available. So there's a lot of risk on doing what they did, but it could pay off for them if they happen to get Melvin. But it's waiting. It's there. And that is like I can't even fathom what the reaction would be from the Padres fans if that doomsday scenario happened.
Well, opening day will be sold out.
Oh my God.
Either way, with the Giants once again coming to Petco Park.
Imagine, like, if you
come see Bob Melvin and Blake Snell in their returns. That's not how they would sell it.
Imagine the worst case scenario happens. They fire Bob. They retain AJ. AJ hires a first-time manager. Bob is up with the Giants in San Francisco. Like, how are you, like, if you're AJ Preller and you're at that press conference, how are you selling that?
Not easily. Let's talk to Kevin Acee on the other side. What does Gabe Kapler's firing mean for Bob Melvin and the Padres organization? Kevin Acee, our Padres insider from Chicago, will join us on the other side. We have JB Long, voice of the Rams. He'll get us ready for Rams football this weekend on San Diego Sports 760. He'll join us at 4:30. Paul Garrison, East Village Times in Colorado Springs. He'll prepare us for San Diego State and Air Force tomorrow right here on San Diego Sports 760 at 5 p.m. All right, we've got Guns N' Roses tickets to give away today as well. A lot to get to. Oh, we don't have Guns N' Roses tickets to give away. I read that wrong, Brent. What do we have? We've got the gift card to give away. We have Restaurant Week to give away. My apologies. No Guns N' Roses. I need to learn how to read. I'm like Jim right now. All right, we've got a gift card for San Diego Restaurant Week. We've got Kevin Acee on the other side of this break. We're at Fair Play in North Park. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
After kicking off the Mountain West season at Snapdragon Stadium,
in the end zone, caught, touchdown.
Brady Hoke and the Scarlet and Black head off to Colorado Springs, looking to fly high versus the Air Force Academy. Listen tomorrow. Our coverage starts at 3 with the Aztecs march to kickoff on your home of the Aztecs. San Diego Sports 760, America's finest sports station.
Introducing the revolutionary mascara from CoverGirl that adds extreme volume, up to 300% more volume than bare lashes. New Lash Blast Cleantopia is the plant-powered mascara made with 72% natural origin ingredients and infused with cellulose plant fibers. Cleantopia is like a green thumb for your lashes. For lush, check-me-out lashes that last up to 24 hours with no smudging, no flaking, and no clumps. Put the power of plants to work for you with new Lash Blast Cleantopia mascara. Only from Easy Breezy Beautiful CoverGirl.
Fall is just around the corner, and home is the center of it all. At Ashley, seasonal decorating's a breeze with their range of designs and materials. Snuggle up on a family-friendly sectional or an ultra-modern sofa. Or gather outside and enjoy the crisp, cool air with a new fire pit or conversation set. From minor refreshes to total overhauls, Ashley has the essentials.
Kicking off the weekend at Fair Play in North Park. Once the action starts out in Chicago, we'll keep you updated on the Diamond action. And the Aztecs are out in Colorado Springs for more Mountain West play. Sponsored by Fair Play in North Park, San Diego County Credit Union, Bob Jensen Air Conditioning and Heating, Promises 2 Kids, TakingVegas.com. Now back to Jon and Jim at Fair Play in North Park.
It's in the air, can you feel it tonight? Shake down, take down, break down. Somebody gon' get it tonight, come on.
All right, how does Gabe Kapler's firing in San Francisco potentially complicate things for the Padres with Bob Melvin? We'll talk to Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres somehow are still alive because the Marlins-Mets game last night was postponed in the top of the ninth inning with 2 outs. The Padres lose today versus the White Sox. They will officially be eliminated. If the Marlins lose today, if the Marlins win today, if the Cubs win today, then the Padres will also be eliminated. 4:40 first pitch for the Padres. Nick Martinez on the mound tonight. Gabe Kapler has just been fired by the San Francisco Giants. That happened about an hour ago. And Aztecs, they take on Air Force tomorrow afternoon, 5 p.m. kickoff at Air Force. 3 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. The special pregame coverage at AleSmith Brewing right here on San Diego Sports 760. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
All right, our Padres insider Kevin Acee back with us here on Jon and Jim as the Padres get ready for the White Sox this weekend. There's intrigue around could the Padres actually pull off this miracle finish and get the results they need. But there's also one eye towards the future as well. And Kevin, I want to start with what's going on right now in the Bay Area. Gabe Kapler is out. He's been fired by the Giants. In your opinion, is that going to complicate things potentially for the Padres and whether Bob Melvin will be back or not in 2024?
I don't think so. I really think I know why you're asking, and I do not believe so. But it is a little bit of intrigue, sure.
And you don't think Melvin has any more leverage here because of the situation with the Giants looking for
He's under contract. He's under contract. He has zero leverage. Now, that doesn't mean that there couldn't be things that could happen and all that. But, I mean, he's under contract. The Padres can go in and just be like, hey, we love the job you did. See you next year. That could be the end of it, right? So, now.
What if Melvin wants to walk, though?
Yeah, what if he put his foot down?
Sure. But that is, all I know is I've checked 1,000 times and there's $4 million on the table. I just don't, I still see that. I'm not saying he couldn't end up being gone or managing the Giants. I just don't know what leverage he has now. If the word is not leverage and it's discussions that the sides could have, sure, this opens up a lane for him. Yes.
Well, it just seems like, and Kevin Acee is our Padres insider, correct me if I'm wrong, as you've written about it, as others have as well, it seems like the relationship issues between Preller and Melvin in one way or another have to be solved. And I know you've reported that Peter Seidler has a desire to retain potentially both of those individuals for 2024, but isn't that going to be determined on whether those two see it fit to continue their relationship together as well?
Yes. And, look, there's a lot to lose for both these guys. And that may end up being what in the end is what brings them both back. There's no guarantee that either one of these guys are going to work somewhere else if this is over. I know what Bob Melvin's reputation is and all that, but we've seen things before where we thought a guy was going to get a job and he did it. So there's no guarantee of that, and there certainly is no guarantee that AJ Preller would ever be a general manager again. So there's a lot for these guys, and that's something that I'm not the only one. There's people involved in the decision making process and involved in this process that have brought that up. That and also, I do believe that they both want the Padres to do well, and they both believe that this is a team that should have done better and that should do better next year.
Kevin, this meeting on Monday or whenever it takes place, you reported about 24 hours after, the last pitch on Sunday, if the chaos miracle situation does not happen where they make the postseason. I guess who is making the final decision? Is Peter? Because you reported Peter, his preference is wanting them both back. But with who's in that meeting, is there any sway from anybody else that could, decide the fate of, Preller and Melvin?
I think primarily Preller and Melvin. But Peter Seidler is engaged to the extent that he has let know what his preference is, and from my understanding, will be involved. I have no idea to what extent or what that will look like, but Peter Seidler is the one making the final decision here. And so we go in knowing what his preference is. There are other people involved, and I would be almost like, this is my word, but like as a proxy, right? Like, Peter made the decision on Bob largely, right, to hire him, and Peter makes, some pushes through some other things perhaps, and Peter's not in that, situation right now where he can do that, where he can sit down with these guys at his office at Petco Park and do that right now. So there are other people that are involved in that.
Kevin Acee is our Padres insider, is with us right now on Jon and Jim. So, Kevin, are the Padres looking at this weekend as if they're playing in postseason games? The reason I ask it is Blake Snell preparing right now to pitch Sunday. Should the Padres still be mathematically alive come Sunday afternoon?
He has been, and then today through an actual bullpen. So he has been saying all along that he was going to prepare. And we all knew he wasn't pitching if they weren't in it. So obviously, if the results go as the Padres would hope tonight and tomorrow, then Blake Snell would be out there with it all on the line on Sunday. If not, then he will not be. I mean, Rich Hill threw a bullpen today. Pedro Avila could go. There's a lot of they can do whatever they want on Sunday if all those things don't happen.
Okay, so let's then go down that route, the hypothetical. Let's say they're still in it through Sunday, and the Mets and Marlins have to play on Monday. The Padres remain in Chicago at that point and wait around for the conclusion of the Marlins-Mets game?
I doubt it. I haven't thought. That's a really good question. Like, where would they go? Philly? No, they go to Milwaukee.
Go to Milwaukee, right? Yeah.
Okay, it makes all the sense in the world to stay here then, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, it makes
Proximity.
all the sense in the world. Yep. On the other hand, they're not like us where they're going to call up American Airlines. You know what I mean? They will have a charter ready. But the fact is, like the media day and the workout day is the day before. So you want to get in there the day before that. I think what would that be, Tuesday, and then the series starts Wednesday or something like that.
The series actually starts Tuesday.
Series starts Tuesday. Well, then
yes.
They would stay here. I mean, I can't imagine. I haven't checked with anyone. You're the first person to even brought that to my attention, and it's a really good question. And I suppose that shows my level of engagement in actually believing that it'll happen, but it certainly would be a question I would need to ask maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, if they get to tomorrow and they're still alive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kevin, in your piece a couple of days ago, you wrote, one could stay, or both could stay, one could go, or both could go. If I were to ask you what percentage do you think is most likely, what would you say?
I think both to stay. I've also since talked with people, and I think that the sense is both staying is the most likely. I don't have any sort of I wouldn't have written a story. I waited a long time for this to write this. If it wasn't really bad, and when I say really bad, looks like these things happen in these relationships, but this is bad. This is unusual that it would be this level. And so I'm saying all this to say it's most likely, according to most people, that would even be in a position to sort of speculate strongly, right? Like I haven't talked to Peter Seidler. So, but most people think they'll both stay. But I'm just telling you that, it's bad enough that some decisions have to be made, including by those two guys, before this thing is resolved. I do believe, look, they made it work last year. Like I said, they do like each other in many ways. This isn't Twitter. It's the real world. They don't hate each other. And they both want to be a part of this thing AJ in particular has built. and they both want to be a part of this thing. So I do think it's going to work out that they're both here. Whether whether people hearing that their opinion is that is the definition of working out or not. But I do think they're both going to be here. But I have no confidence like where I would take that to Vegas.
And so, you mentioned how bad it is, but like, what is the magic, I guess, thing that would need to change? Because there is going to have to be some type of change if they both remain. So, like, where's the give and take here? Like, what has to be said?
Changes in how they communicate, changes in, and I think that's addressed in the story that, most people would pin this. If you were going to have to say, we got to pick somebody to blame, they would pin this on AJ and some ways that he goes about his business. And that's not like malicious, but I think most people don't believe that's malicious. It's how AJ Preller gets stuff done. And there's a lot of things like let's say Manny's leadership. Like to Manny, that's leadership. To AJ Preller, this is the way stuff gets done. Well, if it's not working for the people around you, or at least even some of the people around you, and some important people around you, then maybe there's some alterations that need to be made. I mean, look, I've had important relationships in my life that I could have considered irreconcilable. And you know what? One or the other or both people decided that they were going to make some changes, and those are magnificent relationships I have now. I would, consider them even far more important than a baseball team. But this is super important for what it is. And so that's why I'm making that comparison. Like, I don't believe in irreconcilable. I don't believe I don't believe that there's some people involved in this that believe in that. Now, I understand it, and maybe some things are, but they do not believe that this is irreconcilable.
Kevin, one more from me before you go. You've reported that the expectations are the Padres' payroll does come down. So is that a definite, and based on your reporting, could this be something as little as a few $1 million, or are you expecting this to be a sizable change, something like 20% or more if it goes from $250 million to $200 million?
Yeah. I don't put anything as definite with the Padres, but I reported it because there are several people around baseball who have been talking about this for a while, and that the Padres are out of compliance, and there are fines that will come. And, this is a big deal that you're not allowed to be out of compliance for more than 1 year if your, debt to your debt to cash ratio, your debt service ratio. And they have to do that. Plus, like Aaron Grutner was on record in January talking about that they would have, we didn't give any specifics, still has not, but they would be lowering payroll. They would be looking to, be a little more balanced in that area. And so this isn't really a surprise. There's some details that are new, but this is probably the third or fourth time that I've actually written about it. And then I had some new details. So the expectation by everyone, like, they will be shocked if it doesn't happen. And even the people that are mad at me that I wrote it did not deny it. So, and some confirmed it. So this is, this is what the expectation is.
Kevin, as always, thank you. We will catch up next week before Game 1 of the NLDS in LA.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, we both disagree with Kevin on something he said. We'll get into that on the other side. Plus, JB Long, voice of the Rams at 4:30. Paul Garrison on San Diego State Air Force at 5 p.m. We're at Fair Play in North Park. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim.
We're at Fair Play in North Park for that drive home. For a full weekend on tap, including the series out in Chicago, a road trip to Colorado for Brady Hoke and the boys, and the matchups in the NFL. Sponsored by Fair Play in North Park, San Diego County Credit Union, Bob Jensen Air Conditioning and Heating, Promises 2 Kids, TakingVegas.com. Now back to Jon and Jim at Fair Play in North Park.
All right, we're going to react to our conversation with our Padres insider, Kevin Acee. Does the fact that Bob Melvin is under contract impact whether he's in San Diego in 2024 or not? We'll talk about it next.
We're kicking off the weekend out at Fair Play in North Park. Gonna be a busy one. It's the last series of the season out in Chicago. The Aztecs head out to Colorado for a matchup with the Air Force Academy, plus a full NFL Sunday. Today's broadcast is sponsored by Fair Play in North Park. A little sporty and a lot of party. San Diego County Credit Union. It's not big bank banking, it's better. Bob Jensen Air Conditioning and Heating. We are here to make you more comfortable. Promises 2 Kids, creating a bright future for foster children. Now live from Fair Play in North Park, it's Jon and Jim.
All right, they're underway tonight in Pittsburgh after the disaster in New York City last night for the Marlins. New York, by the way, today underwater, 9 inches of rain in the last 24 hours in some parts of New York City. Last night, the Marlins couldn't finish their game with the Mets despite taking a ninth-inning lead 2-1. So they get into Pittsburgh at, I don't know what time, 5 in the morning is my guess, something like that.
20 minutes ago.
Right, they just got there. They went straight to the ballpark.
Right.
And
it didn't change.
The Marlins didn't score in the top of the first inning. They grounded into a double play to end the inning. In the bottom of the inning, Pittsburgh has 2 on with only 1 out. Actually, let's see. Double play ball, looks like, and we're scoreless into the second inning. So, again, a Marlins win tonight in Pittsburgh, and the Padres season is over.
Mm-hmm.
A Cubs win tonight in Milwaukee, and the Padres season is over. Or a White Sox win over the Padres tonight on the south side, and the Padres season is over.
See, I was coming in today, and that was where my mind was at, the K scenario.
Yeah.
Like, I was on board. I was fully on board. Did I think it was going to happen? No. Did I have any faith? No.
But
I
you kind of never know.
I was fully on board with this stupid scenario that was playing out because of last night in New York.
I mean, that was Skip Schumacher was yelling and had to be held back from the head groundskeeper at Citi Field.
He was pulling the tarp.
It was
off the
amazing.
field. He
it
was
was
trying
amazing.
to get that thing going.
Yeah, I loved it.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
He was yelling at the grounds crew, head of grounds crew, and then the grounds crew was taking, pictures in front of the dugout before they left the field. It was
what was that all about?
Man, it was bad. The whole thing was wild because by the time it officially got called was around 10:30
Pacific. Yes, it was 1 a.m. when the game was called. Like think about it. It was 1 a.m. when the game was called. And I'm with you, by the way. I was set to talk about that for 3 hours today until Gabe Kapler got fired.
Yep.
So, and by the way, it's still very relevant because if the Marlins do lose today, we still have that game potentially hanging in the balance on Monday.
If the Padres win, the Padres have to win.
If the Padres win, and if the Cubs lose, yada, yada, yada. Now, here's the thing. Kevin Acee, because you and I have been spending the last 30 minutes or so saying, hey, listen, Kapler out. There's a lot of reasons to believe Melvin, who was a former catcher with the Giants, grew up in the Bay Area, went to Cal, managed in Oakland, worked for Farhan Zaidi. I mean, is there anything else you need to hear?
No.
But Kevin shot that down pretty quickly, saying Melvin's under contract and he does not have leverage.
Yeah, no.
I don't see it that way with 1 year remaining on his deal. If Bob Melvin doesn't want to be here, I think he can get out of the deal.
Yeah, if there's multiple years on the deal,
it would be harder.
Things way more complicated. But with everything that has been reported by Kevin and been talked about by Dennis and, national, it's like this relationship is very, very bad. Like Kevin said it multiple times with us. He's like, I had to write this because it's so bad.
If it's so bad, is there some guarantee that Bob Melvin doesn't say, hey, let me out of my deal?
No.
And who are the Padres to hold him to that deal?
I mean, come on.
You would want a manager managing against his will?
Yeah, give me a break. He has leverage in this situation. He 100% does. I'm with you.
I agree.
I firmly disagree with Kevin on that because the Padres can't hold him hostage to manage the team next year.
They can't.
They can't be like, you're under contract for a year. Ugh. And by the way, you don't think he can get another $4 million a year from the Giants?
Well, that's the thing.
Like, give me a break.
Exactly. Someone else will even pay it. There's a circumstance that exists where he is out of his deal for 2024.
You don't think the Mets could easily
that.
give him $5 million a year? Give me a break.
Someone would write the check to the Padres potentially for the money owed. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios.
You got two teams, the Giants and the Mets. Okay, they're pretty rich. I know the Giants don't spend any money, but they're gonna eventually.
Everyone's got $4 million for a manager if they're trying to win.
And it doesn't go towards your payroll,
right?
So
exactly.
It doesn't matter. So this whole notion that he doesn't have any leverage here with the Giants and the Mets potentially having vacancies at manager. Yeah, give me a break, dude. He 100% does. If he wants to go in there on Monday and say, look,
I'm out.
I can't do this anymore. We tried. It's not going to work here. I'm done.
But, Bob, you're under contract. Well, here's my agent. Figure it out.
Yeah. Do a settlement. Give me half. I don't care. I'm done. He could absolutely do that.
Work out a deal with the team that I'm going to end up managing. That happens. It happened. How did he end up here from Oakland? Now they had Oakland's blessing.
Yeah.
But he's got 1 year left on his deal. That's the least of the concerns, in my opinion, for Bob Melvin. The question is, does he want to stay or does he want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And do the Giants want him? And the perception is, the Giants would want him. That's the perception.
It is.
Moving on from Gabe Kapler, they could use a veteran voice like Bob Melvin. Does he want to stay or does he want to go? Is the question for me. Where did you go?
I don't know.
You have no internet.
My internet got just killed.
I wonder if we probably can't hear you then.
No, you probably can because of Brent's.
Oh, good point. Good
But
point.
I'm just like off in no man's land.
You're off
right
in no
now.
man's land. You're going to figure that out. All right, here's what we have coming up at the 4 o'clock hour. We've got that $60 gift card to Cafe Coyote in Old Town to give away. We'll do that in the 4 o'clock hour. That's to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. JB Long, voice of the Rams, gets us ready for Rams Colts. That's Sunday in Week 4. Paul Garrison gets us set for Aztecs Air Force in Colorado Springs. He'll join us at 5 p.m. That game, of course, tomorrow on San Diego Sports 760. The wrap comes your way next. Hour 2, Jon and Jim. Stay with us for Fair Play.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres, they're somehow still alive. They take on the Chicago White Sox later this afternoon, 4:40 first pitch. Nick Martinez on the mound for the Padres. Right now, Marlins, because we're scoreboard watching, taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is scoreless in the top of the second inning there. If the Marlins win tonight, Padres officially will be eliminated. Same thing goes with the Chicago Cubs. Other news in baseball today, the Giants, they fired their manager, Gabe Kapler, after 4 seasons. And the Aztecs take on Air Force tomorrow afternoon, 5 p.m. kickoff. 3 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. Special pregame from AleSmith Brewing right here on San Diego Sports 760. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We're at Fair Play on this Friday afternoon where the Padres are about to take the field in Chicago in about 30 minutes. They'll have it for you right here from North Park. We are scoreboard watching, as Jim said. Marlins threatened in the second inning, had first and third, 2 outs, but do not score. So no score between the Marlins and the Pirates. Heading to the bottom of the second inning, a Marlins win. That's it for the Padres. The Cubs win, like you said. That's it for the Padres, or a White Sox win tonight over the Padres will do in San Diego. But, I mean, it's amazing. Literally on Tuesday, that was 3 days ago. Yeah. If the Cubs would have held on to a 6-0 sixth-inning lead, the Padres would have been eliminated Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Braves came all the way back to stun Chicago and win 7-6. Same thing happened on Wednesday. When the Cubs lost, they had a lead, and here we are 3 or 4 days later. Like you said, the Mets grounds crew basically keeping the Padres alive potentially last night based on what happened there.
They were the Padres players of the game.
right,
Even though the Padres didn't even play last night. But yeah, like the amount of weird things that have happened
been a lot.
Have kept the Padres in it for the final, I guess, series of the year. Not the entirety of the series, but at least tonight, at least until this game ends, the Marlins game, which will end before the conclusion of the Padres game. What time do the Cubs play?
The Cubs play later.
Okay.
7,
and then
I think.
5:10.
Okay, 5:10.
So that game will not be over, theoretically, before the Padres-White Sox game that starts at 4:40. So, yeah, all eyes are on that Marlins game. All eyes are on that Marlins game. The Reds, they play the Cardinals at 5:15. And again, if they win 2 of 3 versus the Cardinals, then also the Padres are eliminated. So yeah, all eyes are on that Marlins game because that will be the one that will finish before and finish first. And it will be all a moot point to Padres lose tonight.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, the other thing is the Padres have to sweep another series. They've been good at doing it recently. They're 11-2 in their last 13. Yeah. I mean, Chicago is literally nothing to play for. They haven't all month. They have not been good. So what time did they arrive? They just showed that
4:48 a.m.
Is when they got to their hotel or when they arrived in Pittsburgh?
When they arrived in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so you're talking about a team that went to sleep when the sun was up, maybe. If you arrived in Pittsburgh at 4:48, you go to sleep an hour or 2 later. I mean, obviously a very long day for the Marlins. We'll see if they can overcome it or not. And then tonight for the Padres, a little bit of house money. I mean, disappointing season, obviously, but it's like, who even thought they'd be here? I did not. 2 weeks ago, when they were 10 games under 500, 8 or 9 games out of a playoff spot, this was not even conceivable as possible.
No.
And now it's like, hey, nothing to lose. Go out there, keep winning, and see if you can put some pressure on these teams. This is what A.J. Preller told Marty Caswell like a week ago. Like, hey, let's put some pressure on. Let's see if we can make things interesting. And we laughed at that. And it's kind of what has happened headed into the final weekend of the year.
I have to give them credit. I got to give them credit for sure. I got to give Bob Melvin credit for the final stretch here. it doesn't like sway me in either direction of definites. Like, hey, this means that I think AJ Preller should return. Like, oh, this means that I think that both of them should absolutely return. No, it doesn't. It's something that keep us engaged until the end, which I appreciate because it would have sucked. I mean, we talked a lot about this in August, but at the beginning of September, when, by the way, they were 11 games under 500. You said they were only 10. They were at one point this year 11 games under 500.
I don't believe you.
They were.
I'm kidding.
The talk was, what the hell are we going to talk about for the final month? Like, we thought that this was, and it still is. I mean, it has to take a literal miracle, but at least they have we've been engaged here
through our final show before the offseason.
I thought that there was no chance in hell that we would make it to Fair Play on September 29th with them still technically alive. I thought no chance. So for that, I have to give them credit for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy that they've gotten here. Now, again, still under 500, haven't been over since the beginning of May, can get back to 500 tonight. That's well documented as well. Every time they've pulled to within one game of 500, they've lost this year. It's like 5 or 6 times since May that they've done that. We'll keep you updated. Join us from Fair Play North Park. Kick off your weekend with us, Padres and White Sox. We'll get underway in about 30 minutes. Again, JB Long, he's the voice of the Rams. He will join us coming up in about 20 minutes. But right now, let's get to this.
All right, guys, who's the face of the Padres?
That's such a really good question. That's such a great question. Manny Machado.
Okay.
I would say Manny Machado is the face of the Padres. That's who I'm saying.
The reason the question has been posed by Brent is that Fernando Tatis Jr. finished 4th in jersey sales in baseball in 2023. Manny Machado was the only other Padre in the top 20. He was 17th.
Yep.
I do agree with you. I do think it's Manny Machado locally. What's interesting is that I do believe Tatis probably has more national appeal, and maybe there's some injury coming off the love-hate relationship of the suspension last year. But Tatis, he's a superstar in 2021. It felt like it lessened here in 2023. But if jersey sales mean anything, Ohtani's number 1, Acuna's in the top 3, Tatis is number 4 overall. It's like Tatis has had more national appeal, at least this year, than Manny Machado, who's 17th in jersey sales.
Well,
which is great.
I do think nationally, if you're not a Padres fan, you just don't like Manny Machado. Like, you just don't. He just rubs a lot of people the wrong way if you're not a Padres fan. I don't know if you could say the same thing about Fernando Tatis Jr. And in turn, that's, I think a reason why he's top 5 in jersey sales, which is kind of incredible.
It really is.
Coming off of the suspension. And it just shows, like you said, that he still resonates with, I'm sure, the younger crowd nationally. People have not forgot about Fernando Tatis Jr., even though he didn't have this spectacular year. He had a good year, but he has not had this spectacular year offensively that was like 2021. He's made defensive plays like, an MVP would make. But, it's interesting, even though I still would say Manny is the face of the Padres.
Yeah, I agree. Now, here's what's interesting for me. If Tatis ever posts a season again like 2021 or like watered down Acuna 2023, would he become the second most popular player in baseball to Shohei Ohtani? Well, I think based on this, that's a possibility. If he's like a 40-40 guy in the future.
What makes Tatis so appealing is his flash and his dynamic, and just he does things that you don't see on a baseball field by anybody else. If he plays, like you said, not a watered-down version of Acuna, but just he plays up to his 2021 level, which was 40-plus home runs, around 300, and OPS in the high 950s, like playing the defense that he's been playing in right field, which is he's got to win the Gold Glove this year. There's no question, even though I downplay the Gold Glove after what's happened recently to it, how Manny's doesn't even get votes anymore. Then you could easily say that he could potentially be a top 2 and he wouldn't be number 2 in jersey sales.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next question.
Will Jordan Love ever be a franchise quarterback?
Brent, I can't hear you. I can hear you laughing now in the control room. Last night, if you're looking at it objectively, I don't know how much blame you could really put on Jordan Love last night. He gets blamed for sure, no doubt about it. But that offensive line is horrible. He had no time in the pocket at all. It just was pathetic how bad the Packers offensive line was last night. I know David Bakhtiari went on the IR, so that obviously hurt them. But when you have no time and you're a young quarterback, of course you're going to look like you suck. He made some nice throws, but I guess the long-winded to answer your question, no, he's not a franchise quarterback, even though he had no help last night.
He's not a franchise quarterback. I mean, that's not to say he can't be a competent quarterback or improve. He's still obviously young, but it would be very surprising, I think, if he emerged as a franchise quarterback. Last night obviously did not go well for the Packers. It did go well for Brent, though. But no, we're a long way from calling Jordan Love a franchise quarterback. Next question.
If Colorado loses to the Trojans tomorrow, will they still be the talk of college football?
I don't even think they're the talk of college football right now after their loss to Oregon. I think the Oregon loss definitely watered down things for them greatly. Like, I know Dion was on this morning on Undisputed with Skip Bayless and
I saw that.
Michael Irvin. I didn't see any hype. I mean, my timeline wasn't flooded like it was a couple weeks ago with Dion. It just wasn't. So I think the Oregon loss definitely watered down everything. You lose to USC, they won't be the talk of college football anymore. No, but if they beat USC somehow, even though they're a 21-point underdog,
21.5,
then it would ramp back up again. But if they lose,
if they lose, the question is, can they get to a bowl game? Because they still have to play, 3 or 4 top 25 teams. If they lose, the question is, can they get to 6 wins? If they win, the question is, are they back? But yeah, if they lose, it's like, can you find 6 wins? I think they have like Stanford in there, maybe Arizona State in there. I don't know, but it won't be easy to get to 6 wins unless they beat USC potentially on Saturday.
Well, I saw this morning on Sporting News that there's a whole bunch of celebs that are going to be at the game. I guess Will Ferrell, Matthew McConaughey, Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Lil Wayne, DJ Khaled.
You also get to
LeBron
see
and
the
Bronny.
You get to see the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams.
Yes, you do.
And the best college football player potentially in the last decade.
And one of the biggest fan bases in the country and the second largest TV market in the country. It's going to have a huge appeal, obviously. Right. Next question.
Should the Padres pitch Blake Snell on Sunday?
Well, they're gonna.
But they're going to if they're in it.
Yeah, they're gonna. It's already been, confirmed, I guess, that
they threw a bullpen.
He'll be ready for Sunday. But if they're out of it, no chance in hell you see him.
No, you won't even see any part of him.
No, he'll be on a plane to like Cabo.
Right. Who knows if he's even now? You'll hear him probably with Don and Mud on Sunday if they're eliminated.
Oh yeah.
Shooting the S, so to speak, Jim.
Well, it's different on the road. If it's at home, it's more easy to do that. Like if they're at home on Sunday, Blake Snell will be like in the booth.
Probably true.
But on the road, it's a little.
No, they do the live look-ins on the road, don't they?
They do
with the players. Yeah,
I think it's a little harder to do that on the road. I don't know.
Is it? You talk to the technical people on the MLB stream. All I know is this: Blake Snell has had an amazing season, and I'll take my chances if you somehow have Blake Snell pitching against the White Sox on Sunday to extend your season. I will absolutely take my chances with that. I'll probably give you. It's just amazing what he's done. This 1 ERA in his last 23 starts. So hopefully for Padres fans, you have a chance where Blake Snell is pitching on Sunday.
What if he pitched and he actually had like a bad game?
It's possible. What if they make it all the way to Monday and they need to overcome a 1-run deficit in the bottom of the 9th inning in front of no fans at Citi Field?
Dude,
in a 9-minute game.
That happened. That will be the greatest 20-minute viewing experience ever. If that were the case. Because you're only playing an inning and a half. Playing, 4 outs?
Yeah, 4 outs potentially. Marlins, by the way, just grounded into a double play.
It's happening, guys. It's all happening.
Scoreless game in Pittsburgh, top of the 3rd inning. Pittsburgh, by the way, has not quit on their season here in September. They've been half decent.
They've been spoiler.
They have.
They've played a huge, huge spoiler.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, shoot, they kind of ruined the Padres season, to be honest, Jim.
Kind of.
They went 6-1 against the Padres.
Yeah, they swept the Padres in that one series. That was right. The series they swept them was Peter Seidler then spoke, I think, the following day in Cincinnati. Is that correct? That was the last time we heard from Peter.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's absolutely right.
Last time we heard from Peter, which, again, he is having say it seems like, in decisions that will be happening at the end of the year. I don't know how, like, if he has already made up his mind, which it seems like it could be a real possibility, then,
Right.
Then I guess we're just, doing semantics here? Like, hey, we're just talking to see what to like fix things.
It's called Sports Talk Radio.
I know. I know.
It's basically our job.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's made up his mind. I really don't. And by the way, even if he's made up his mind, doesn't mean Bob Melvin is back, because Bob Melvin can make his own decision about his future. AJ Preller will be back, obviously, if he's retained. He's not going anywhere. But Bob Melvin will determine whether he's back or not. He's a 61 or 62-year-old manager, whatever. He's not going to be back just because Peter Seidler says he's back. He'll be back if he wants to be back. That's how it's going to work.
I just can't fathom a season like this going without any consequence.
Right.
Like, you just had the most disappointing season in franchise history. You kind of blew through $250 million. You burned it because that didn't get you the postseason. And the end result is running it back with no consequence. Like, that just blows my mind.
Right.
Do I want to see Bob Melvin go? No, I don't. But, like, there has to be something, right? What is the consequence for this? Nothing? Hey, you get an extra year? That's not a consequence. That's like a gift.
Yeah.
You're gifting these AJ Preller another opportunity after this?
You know what's interesting? We've talked about this too, like this idea, and I'm with you. If Preller's back, if Melvin's back, there's not real change. I'm looking around baseball, and was it Cincinnati today? Someone elevated someone to president of baseball operations.
Cincinnati,
and then hired a general manager. That's become very commonplace in baseball. It's not all 29 other teams, but there are a number of teams that have a president of baseball operations and a general manager. I'm with you in the thinking that just because you hire a GM doesn't mean you've really changed anything.
Yeah.
But I would wonder if that was possibly coming for the Padres off this year if they miss out on the postseason. Again, does that really change anything? Maybe not. Perception, it may change. But, I mean, the fact that AJ Preller has been elevated during this run. Like, over these 9 years, he's been elevated.
Contract extensions.
Extensions and elevation from GM to president of baseball operations. We've talked about this. I mean, maybe a general manager comes in, not to say it changes anything. It could mean absolutely nothing. But that wouldn't shock me if the general manager came in and that's where Melvin reported.
Dude,
like there was a middleman between the two.
To go to that length, though, for just,
but most teams, I mean, we'd have to look at it, but a lot of teams do have that.
They do, but
right?
I don't see it happening. I don't see them bringing in a third party to be the GM, to be the middleman between Preller and Melvin. I don't see that happening. The words that will be spoken at the end of this year, man, it's all talk. That's what this season has boiled down to. At the very end, they were all talk all year long. Too little, too late. And if you go into in the off season and you say the same thing, 2021.
Yeah, I guess the question is, like, what are the ramifications for going into 2024 and running it back or not making changes? As in, do you think you're going to lose at the box office because you don't make changes? Do you think you're going to lose on field because you don't make changes? Like, Peter Tyler's going to weigh the two sides. What puts your organization in a position to succeed in 2024 and beyond? Is it by bringing these men back or not? Like, it's as simple as that. Perception, you're right. I think bringing them back, perception is going to be great. But what's going to happen? I mean, is there going to be a revolt? No.
There'll be a bunch of hope. Like, I hope this season's different. I hope this season isn't like last year.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that they can work it out. I hope they can be best buddies for another season at least.
Right.
Because that's another question, too. You bring back Bob Melvin, you got to lay that down. I mean, what if next year it starts off rocky? Then there's going to be questions about, should we let Bob Melvin go? Because this is not it right now, and it's not working. So there is so many things on the table here if you bring them back. The lack of anything being a consequence, a lame duck manager, a situation and a relationship that just is described as a civil war.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, let's bring them back. Let's bring it back and run it back for
Right.
2024.
That's why I'm surprised. Kevin writes an article where he quotes someone as saying that Preller and Melvin have a relationship that's akin to a civil war, but Bob Melvin's got no leverage and is definitely back in 2024.
Yeah,
that doesn't make that doesn't run in
Kevin.
concert.
I completely disagree with
Yeah,
you there.
yeah, I do too. I really do.
Yeah.
All right, JB Long is the voice of the Rams. He's going to join us on the other side of a break. Also, this hour, a chance to win a $60 gift card to Cafe Coyote in Old Town to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. It's going on now through October 1st with over 100 of San Diego's finest dining establishments, a diverse menu of cuisines from farm to table to international flavors, multi-course menus starting at $20. Stay with us. We'll give away that $60 gift card later this hour. You can visit SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. Again, SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. JB Long will get us ready for Rams and Colts. That is Sunday afternoon. Paul Garrison will join us from Colorado Springs, where San Diego State is set to take on Air Force tomorrow at 5, right here on San Diego Sports 760. We'll keep you updated on the Marlins and the Pirates as well. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, JB Long is the voice of the LA Rams. He'll join us on the other side of this break and get us ready for Rams-Colts Sunday at 10 a.m. Can the Rams bounce back from a loss in Cincinnati? He'll join us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Scoreboard watch because we kind of have to at this point. Marlins, Pittsburgh Pirates is the only game underway of consequence for the Padres, and the Pirates have taken a 1-0 lead heading to the top of the fourth inning in Pittsburgh. Padres start their final three-game series of the year versus the White Sox. 4:40 first pitch there. Nick Martinez on the mound for the Padres. Other news in baseball today, the Giants, after 4 seasons, relieved their manager, Gabe Kapler. Moving over to the Aztecs, they take on Air Force tomorrow, 5 p.m. kickoff. 3 p.m. is when our special pregame coverage starts at Ale Smith Brewing right here on San Diego Sports 760. And this update has been brought to you by Staples Stores.
All right, we'll keep you updated, as Jim just said, on the Padres and the White Sox. Padres still mathematically alive. That game will start in 10 minutes. We'll also catch up with Paul Garrison from Colorado Springs, getting us ready for tomorrow. San Diego State and Air Force, but Rams and Colts can be heard right here Sunday at 10 a.m. on San Diego Sports 760. Rams looking to bounce back from a Monday night loss against the Bengals. And JB Long, voice of the Rams, back with us here on Jon and Jim. So, JB, we always appreciate it. Rams back to the road this weekend in Indianapolis. Did we see Monday night, maybe for a first time, just how much the Rams offense is missing Cooper Kupp in that game on Monday night?
Man, that could be part of it. And thanks for kicking off the weekend with me. Always glad to be with you guys, even though I know there's a lot going on in the San Diego sports scene right now. The good news on Cooper Kupp's front is it seems like everything is trending towards him returning to practice next week, hopefully with an eye towards participating in Week 5 against the Eagles. But
if we were to take it solely based on the temperature of the Rams fan base right now, I think they would say it had nothing to do with receivers. It had to do with the Rams' refusal to run the football against a wounded Bengals offense that didn't seem like they were going to light the scoreboard up, and against the Bengals defense that was among the worst against NFL rushing attacks through 2 weeks, and the Rams just failed to exploit that. So the truth is probably some of both and somewhere in between, but it's not the first thing I would point towards Cooper Kupp's absence, put it that way, though it certainly would have helped.
And you mentioned the run game being a problem. What do you think the solution to that is? Is the solution potentially going out and maybe trading for a Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts? Or do you think there just needs to be better schemes? Or what's the solution for the Rams' lack of running game against, so far this season?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. And it's easy to point to the running back. Let's face it, Kyron Williams is far from an established RB1 in this league, though everyone around the Rams facility believes he has that potential. Hasn't demonstrated it yet, though he did have a couple of good games early in the season, especially with some red zone touchdown carries. But fielding checkdowns and screens and turning threes into fives and the types of things you have to do in this league to be productive, number one. Still some work to do there. As always, it's a matter of offensive line, and the Rams were disrupted up front, at times losing their right guard and their left tackle during that Monday night football game. Right guard Joe Noteboom should be back, though he could play left tackle if Alaric Jackson can't go. So there's a bunch of moving parts. I think it takes all 11 to run the football. It's being in the right play against the right look, breaking tackles, making the first man miss, all of those things. And though the Rams have been one of the league's better offenses to this point in the season, it hasn't been because of a really efficient running game, I'll admit.
JB Long is the voice of the Rams. Rams-Colts on Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. So it looked as if, and you watched the film, JB, Aaron Donald was really effective last week, right? And not as effective in week 2 against San Francisco. What have you seen on film from Aaron Donald these first 3 weeks?
Yeah, no, it's great to have him back. He impacts games like no other individual I've ever watched in sports. And San Francisco is uniquely equipped to kind of neutralize him. They've spent a good portion of their bandwidth trying to figure out, okay, how can we make sure that Aaron Donald doesn't wreck our game plan? They got lots of weapons and lots of really good coaches to do that. Plus, they get to try it twice a year. But he was a factor in Seattle. He was a force against Burrow and the Bengals. It wasn't his fault, it wasn't the defense's fault, really, that the Rams are not 2-1. Really interesting matchup against Quentin Nelson, one of the best guards in the league this week in Indianapolis. He's terrific for the Colts. The Colts will be without their starting center, who's really good, without their starting left tackle, who's really good. So that's a big, big detriment to the Colts' chances. And they're starting a rookie quarterback. Anthony Richardson is electric, one of the most, if not the most athletic quarterback prospects the league has ever seen. But rookie quarterbacks are only 1-7 in the Aaron Donald era going up against the Rams. Rookie quarterback starting against Aaron Donald 1-7. The only winner was Tua Tagovailoa back in 2020, I believe it was, and he played terribly in that game. The Miami Dolphins beat the Rams because they scored 2 non-offensive touchdowns.
Wow, that's a stat
that's
right
good
there.
Stat.
I like that type of stat, JB. That I'll definitely believe that will be deployed on the broadcast on Sunday. Matthew Stafford, we talked about him last week, and he's finally healthy now, and he has shown flashes definitely of remaining to be that elite quarterback in the NFL. But his last 2 games, 4 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and it's no coincidence. I think that both of those games the Rams lost, and the one game they won this year, Matthew Stafford didn't turn the ball over, and he played pretty efficiently for quarterback. Is it as simple to say Matthew Stafford, as long as he doesn't turn over the ball, more likely than not, the Rams are going to win?
It feels that way sometimes, doesn't it? I mean, I don't have the percentages in front of me, but the amount of NFL games that are won while your quarterback is throwing multiple interceptions is pretty slim. And the Rams don't have that margin for error with this roster this year, right? They're playing good teams. San Francisco at home, at Cincinnati, desperate Bengals. You just don't win games like that when you turn it over multiple times. I will say in Matthew's defense, one of those interceptions in each game was deflected. One went straight through his running back's hands. Another was tipped by a blitzer who got stoned at the line of scrimmage and just threw an arm up and got a lucky deflection. Yeah. So that's how it goes in the league sometimes. And we're talking about a super small sample size. the bounces haven't been great for the Rams. For those of us that have watched like every snap of the season, you can't complain about those. I think you just have to trust that in the long term, a healthy Matthew Stafford is going to win you more games than he costs you. However, it's fair to point out also that like he was sacked once through 2 games, and then he got sacked 6 times in Cincinnati as they had some protection issues. And so, one, that cost him in terms of performance. And 2, I think you also have to be very careful to go back to the point about running the football and your game style. Like, don't lose the war in the process of trying to win a battle, right? Like, if you're getting hammered, if your quarterback's in harm's way, like, check it down, run some quick game, make sure that Matthew Stafford is back as your starter next week so that you can win over the long haul.
JB Long is the voice of the Rams. Rams Colts Sunday in Indianapolis at 10 a.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. And JB, does Sunday feel like maybe it's even more important with the Eagles on deck for LA?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's kind of the consequence of letting a golden opportunity get away from you in Cincinnati, a game where you were leading in the second half, where the opposing quarterback was playing on one leg. To not get to 2-1 there puts an enormous amount of pressure on this game. I think that's. And it's hard because the Rams have played the toughest schedule in the league to date, and it doesn't get any easier, as you pointed out, the reigning NFC champions coming to your place next Sunday at SoFi. But that's the reality of life in the National Football League. If you miss an opportunity, you better learn your lesson and get it right the next week. Otherwise, your season could be in jeopardy really quickly. I mean, look at some of the 0-3 teams around the league. It's a very real factor, even for teams that are well-equipped this season.
Yeah, there's no question about it. JB, have a great call. Safe travels. We're looking forward to it. Again, Sunday at 10 a.m., Rams and Colts before coming back home for Philadelphia next weekend. JB, we always appreciate it in San Diego. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you for carving out some time for me on your Friday.
All right,
Thanks,
JB
man.
Long, voice of the Rams. An update in Pittsburgh where the Pirates have a 1-0 lead over the Marlins. As they move to the bottom of the 4th inning, Miami has just not been scoring. It took until the 9th inning yesterday for them to score in New York. They haven't scored through 4 innings tonight against a Pittsburgh team that's implementing a bullpen game here today. So Pittsburgh leading Miami 1-0. That's good news for Padres fans. The Padres about to get underway in Chicago. Look at this crowd in front of maybe
What crowd?
5, 6, 7,000, 8,000 in Chicago. I mean, a tiny Friday night crowd on the South Side to take on to see the White Sox take on the Padres tonight.
It's it's amazing because we got both of the games
side by side
right now. And for as improbable as this is, every single inning that goes by,
yes,
that a team that the Padres need to lose is actually losing. I mean,
the more plausible it becomes, even though it's implausible.
And it all depends, obviously. Padres have to still win.
Yeah, they do.
They have to.
That's
still
important.
Win. Because if they lose, it's obviously over.
Jim facts.
Duh. But I don't know, man. The news from today with Gabe Kapler and the situation looming with the Monday meeting between, Preller and the, equity group for Siler Equity Group, whoever that's going to be, and Eric Grupner and Bob Melvin, that to me feels way more important than anything happening right now, because that's going to determine the future of this team for sure.
So could this weekend.
Okay.
Pirates a 1-0 lead.
Runner on second.
Leadoff runner at second in the 4th inning. Padres and White Sox about to get underway from the South Side. On the other side, we'll give away that $60 gift card to Cafe Coyote in Old Town to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. Be listening for your chance to win that $60 gift card. Plus, Paul Garrison from the East Village Times will join us at 5 p.m. from Colorado Springs, where San Diego State will play Air Force tomorrow at 5 p.m. An update from Chicago on the other side. We're at Fair Play North Park. Get here. Padres are on. Marlins are on. Cubs are going to be on. Reds are going to be on. Get here. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, on the other side, an update with the Padres underway, an update from the Marlins-Pirates game as well. Plus, we'll give away that $60 gift card to Cafe Coyote next. Stay with us. All right, in 5 minutes, we're going to give away that gift card. Be listening. San Diego Restaurant Week is here. We've got a $60 gift card to Cafe Coyote in Old Town to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. We'll let you know when to call. You'll need something that we talk about here when you do call in. Do not call now. Here are the updates, Jim. Pirates have added on in Pittsburgh. They lead the Marlins 2-0 in the bottom of the fourth inning. They're threatening with men in the corners and 2 outs. That's what the Padres need. Padres, meanwhile, are underway in Chicago. Dylan Cease pitching for the White Sox. There's no score in the top of the first inning. 2 outs, bases empty for San Diego. I mean, this is good drama. It really is good drama. Padres top half of the first inning comes to an end. I feel like I'm watching Red Zone a little bit. Like I got multiple games on. They're meaningful to us. And we'll see. Later on tonight, the Cubs and Brewers will get underway. Later on tonight, the Reds and Cardinals will also get underway as the Padres try to somehow, some way keep these playoff hopes alive.
In about 20 minutes or so. 20 minutes or so is when those two games, those two series get underway. The longer this goes, the more stupid it is, but also you can't help but think of the chaos that is just, hey, if this thing happens, then it's the probability becomes even greater.
Mm-hmm. Fangraphs still has it at 0%.
I want to know if we get to tomorrow and somehow the Padres are still alive, if Fangraphs puts it at any percentage.
Fangraphs has it wrong. I know they do. They think they've been eliminated. So unless someone goes in there, I know, I'm positive.
But okay,
because they think they don't have a tiebreaker. So that's why it's showing that way. It's a 3-team tiebreaker scenario. You think Fangraphs has that built into the algorithm? I don't.
No.
So they're basing it on, well, they can't do it mathematically, but they can with a tiebreaker. So
look, the Padres, they're not facing off against any cupcakes today and tomorrow.
True.
Dylan Cease has had a nice year. He's a nice pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Clevenger has had like a really good season for the White Sox.
He has.
Now, if you get to Sunday, you are absolutely facing a pitcher that you should completely destroy.
Especially with Blake Snell on the mound. You'd be like a minus 300 favorite in that game.
But they would also need other scenarios to happen for them. They can't just win and they're in.
Oh, this thing could end this thing could obviously end tonight.
Yeah.
As we've been talking, it could have ended Tuesday, though.
I know.
And it probably could have ended Monday.
Could have ended last week.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the amazing part of it. And it just hasn't happened. And it's just as much what teams are doing around San Diego as San Diego themselves. Although the Padres have, again, they haven't gone quietly here over the last 2 weeks. So we're going to watch. We'll keep you updated. If you're looking for a place to watch all this chaos, do it at Fair Play. Where we are right now, we'll be here until 6 o'clock. We're in North Park. We've been here all season long. It's been so fun to be on the road, whether it's Fair Play when the Padres have been on the road or it's been Blind Borough downtown when the Padres have been at home. Hard to believe this could be it if the miracle scenario doesn't play out over the next 3+ days. This could be it for us on the road throughout the course of the baseball season. But it's been fun. I tell you, this is one of my favorite spots in the city of San Diego. Always has been since the first time we were here.
Yeah, this place is amazing. The food's awesome. I had a cheeseburger today.
Oh, did you?
With the French fries here that are delicious. The French fries, I don't know what they do to them, but they make them perfectly. Like they're a perfect French fry.
I heard you talking about that earlier with Jonathan.
Yeah. We are French fry aficionados, if you didn't know that. And then you always eat your salmon salad.
Yeah, I got a salmon salad. I'll be honest, the fries did look good. I'm thinking about maybe getting a side order of fries right now. I feel like I could eat more.
And we also, from Andy the Beer Man, got this gummy tropical IPA just sitting here.
Yeah, I see that.
This is an interesting beer. But
why don't you open that up?
You want me to?
Live a little.
It's a hazy double IPA bursting with tropical and citrus flavors.
Yeah, I do. I do want you to. So anyway, if everything works out well, the Padres live to fight another day. If everything doesn't work out well, we're talking about a meeting Monday between A.J. Preller, Bob Melvin, Eric Grupner, and a member of Peter Seidler's equity team.
And potentially Peter Seidler on like Zoom call or something.
And potentially Bob Melvin on his future.
Yeah.
Now that San Francisco has fired its manager and Gabe Kapler earlier today.
Yeah, he absolutely has leverage going into this thing.
I feel the same way.
I don't think you should let anybody tell you otherwise. Honestly, I firmly disagree that Bob Melvin just is going to go into Monday with, hey, if the Padres say you're coming, we want you back next year, Melvin's going to be like, okay, sure. Like, no, Melvin's going to have some say in this thing, I think, because if he didn't, that would make no sense, especially if everything we've heard. He might want to stay, but he might also want to stay under a condition of things drastically changing with Preller. And can things drastically change with Preller? I don't know. We were in 2021. We thought things were going to drastically change, and they didn't. Look what happened. The same thing over again. 2021, 2023, essentially the same thing. Dysfunction, lack of communication, micromanaging, deteriorating relationships, and it happened again.
By the way, the Marlins making a pitching change in the fourth inning, already trailing 2-0 with the bases loaded for Pittsburgh. A chance for the Pirates to blow a game wide open with 2 outs in the fourth inning. Padres and White Sox, bottom of the first inning.
What do you expect, though, for this game?
Padres, White Sox?
No. The Marlins game. The Marlins got in at like 6 in the morning.
Well, I know. I think the Marlins are cooked right now.
I think they are, too.
Yeah, for tonight. And oftentimes they say it's actually day 2. It's worse. After you have a travel like that, you feel even worse the second day. So we'll see. It's not looking great for the Marlins, which is good news for the Padres. All right, caller 5 right now. You've got a $60 gift card to Cafe Coyote in Old Town. Caller 5, 844-570-1360. A $60 gift card to Cafe Coyote in Old Town to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. It's going on now through October 1st with over 100 of San Diego's finest dining establishments, a diverse range of cuisines from farm to table to international flavors, multi-course menus starting at $20. Visit SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. That is SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. Again, the number to call, 844-570-1360. We'll switch gears on the other side, get you ready for tomorrow on San Diego Sports 760. Aztecs and Air Force Falcons tomorrow at 5, our pregame coverage. Join us from AleSmith Brewing. We'll be there from 3 to 5. Paul Garrison is in Colorado Springs. He'll join us to kick off hour number 3. Join us here at Fair Play in North Park. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres White Sox underway in Chicago. We are scoreless heading to the top of the second inning there. Pirates Marlins. Pirates lead the Marlins 3-0 heading to the top of the fifth inning. Cubs and Brewers. That game is underway in about 10 minutes from Milwaukee. And the Reds Cardinals game underway in about 15 minutes in St. Louis. Moving over to the other news in baseball today, Gabe Kapler officially was fired as manager of the San Francisco Giants. And the Aztecs take on Air Force tomorrow afternoon, 5 p.m. kickoff. 3 p.m. is when our special pregame coverage starts at AleSmith Brewing right here on San Diego Sports 760. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is the final hour of Jon and Jim. We're at Fair Play in North Park where the Padres and White Sox are underway. Scoreboard watching underway. Padres need a win and help to see another day in their quest to reach the postseason in the National League. So we will keep you updated. We're also getting you ready for a game that kicks off 24 hours from now in Colorado Springs at Falcon Stadium. Undefeated Air Force against 2-3 San Diego State. And Paul Garrison from the East Village Times is in Colorado Springs, or will be, for tomorrow's game between the Aztecs and the Falcons. And he's back with us here on Jon and Jim. So, Paul, really do appreciate it as you join us each and every week. When we go back to last week for the Aztecs, albeit in a loss, do you feel as if there was an offensive breakthrough for San Diego State?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you hope. I mean, part of the issue or the question that you would still have is, you know, they've played three pretty good defenses, three defenses, I believe, ranked in the top 45 in Oregon State, Ohio, and UCLA. Boise State's defense is not as good, and that was where the offensive output came about. And so I think this week, you know, ranked statistically, Air Force is ranked even higher. I think they're second in the country, and the opportunity for the Aztecs to build on what they did a week ago, you know, is the hope. And if they can do it against a better team defensively, and then against a team that does a lot of ball control, it'll be a pretty impressive feat.
Paul, how disappointing was it to see, you know, the lack of tackling against Boise State this past, you know, Friday night? It just seemed like that Boise State was breaking tackle after tackle after tackle. And that's not something that you see from an Aztec defense much.
Oh, 100%. And Coach Hoke this week at the press conference said that they practice tackling as much as anyone in the country. Leading up to the Boise State game, all the talk was about how Boise State had ran the previous year all over San Diego State, and how, you know, San Diego State was not going to allow them to do that again. But it was a repeat performance. And, you know, the Aztecs, I don't know, they've had games where they've started that way. They have a half where they haven't tackled well, and then they'll come out of the half and they'll kind of do a lot better. But this was a full game of just not being able to bring down ball carriers, which, as you say, is uncharacteristic. And, you know, they go from giving up 200 yards to one player last year to playing the, you know, top ranked rushing offense in the country. It's different. Boise State spreads you out and tries to make you tackle people in space, and, you know, Air Force tries to make you tackle in a phone booth. But it's a scary proposition, and if they're not a lot better this week, you know, the 10-point underdog and just that they are, you know, should manifest.
Paul Garrison, East Village Times, with us right now on Jon and Jim. So you're alluding here, obviously, to how San Diego State's been unable to stop the run for the better part of the first 5 games. Is that a surprise to you or not, with the turnover they had on their defensive line. This has been an elite run defense for the better part of the last decade, and they haven't been able to get it going at least the last 3 weeks.
Right. And I think, because they've been able to be so consistent and be able to replace people, and obviously the pedigree that Brady Hoke has as a defensive line coach, I think there's always that hope that they can kind of coach players to be a little bit better than maybe their experience or even maybe their talent level. And that hasn't materialized. And so I don't know that it's a surprise because of all of the players that they replaced. And not just last year, but then the year before as well. And I think that, I think the opportunity to get better, if they can, improve this week and then heading into their bye week, I think they maybe can figure out some ways to shore that up. But no, it's not surprising. But, I think that they're going to keep working and they're going to try to, make a big step tomorrow here in Colorado Springs.
Is tomorrow a must-win game in your mind, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it last week I thought was, if you were going to go and you were to say that Boise State and Air Force are two of the best teams, two of the teams that you're competing against to try to get a shot in the championship game, then you have to split with them, right? And the game at home, you would assume, is going to be a little bit easier and a little bit a better chance to win. And since you lost, you have to be able to win this game if you are going to have true championship aspirations. I think heading into your bye week, if you're trying to, I think the whole idea of the season changes completely from can they get into the championship conversation with a win tomorrow and then continue that forward. And I think if they lose, you're starting to think about, where do the 4 games come from for them to get bowl eligible?
Paul Garrison with us right now from the East Village Times. Again, San Diego State in Colorado Springs to take on the Air Force Academy tomorrow at 5. Our pregame coverage will begin from AleSmith Brewing at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So when you think about San Diego State Air Force, you think about the Aztecs defense having so much success in this series over the last decade plus. Even with last year's loss, San Diego State has won 9 of the last 10 games in the series. In your opinion, Paul, what is it about what the Aztecs do defensively and the 3-3-5 that has allowed them to solve the option offense that Air Force runs?
Great coaching. I think that's what it comes down to. I think that it's a very hard to scheme and to win on the chalkboard or whatever they use now, the triple option that is. And I think that the history that Rocky Long and now Brady Hoke have in, creating defenses against it. Kurt Maddox does a great job. And I think also they're unafraid of changing what they do to be able to stop it. They're disciplined. And everybody kind of knows their role and they know what is expected of them. And for whatever reason, they've been able to execute that. And so it'll be really interesting to see how San Diego State matches up against Air Force. They've been playing basically a 3-4 instead of the 3-3-5 the last 2 years by taking out one safety and bringing in an extra linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues. But ultimately, I think they've been able to have this success because they've had good coaching who understands, how to assign each part to be able to stop the triple option.
Paul, we're looking forward to your coverage in the East Village Times. Again, Paul Garrison, a great follow for Aztec fans across all sports, football and men's basketball specifically. He will be there tomorrow, Falcon Stadium, San Diego State, trying to get back to 500 overall. Critical game for the Aztecs that you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760. That'll be tomorrow at 5 Pacific. Paul, appreciate it. Enjoy your trip, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate it. Paul Garrison from the East Village Times will be at AleSmith Brewing tomorrow, 3 to 5. Me, you, J.R. Tolver, getting you ready for 5 o'clock. Aztecs and Falcons.
I know it's I would agree. It's a must-win game. It feels like that. You can't lose 4 in a row in the toughest stretch of your season if you expect that you want to even compete for a Mountain West title,
right?
And also, a bowl game I do think this team can get 6 wins this year, but if you lose 4 in a row here, who knows how it could affect the rest of your season. You have to win tomorrow. It's pretty close to a must-win game for me, especially the disappointment of Boise. this past Friday night. Not that they were right there to beat Boise, but they made mistakes that they usually don't make mistakes, which is the tackling. I think the tackling was the biggest eye-opening of last week, how they got run all over, John. And they could not run the football, and they turned the ball over at the worst possible times. And, yeah, the score might have looked better than it was, but they just are still making the mistakes that you can't make if you expect to compete for a Mountain West Division championship.
I do think it was the mistakes because I'm with you. I think without a fumble at the goal line, you're potentially winning the game. I think without another fumble at your own 25-yard line that led to 7, you potentially win the game as well. And you're right, by the way, about the missed tackles, and the rush defense has been really, surprising to see the yards that San Diego State's allowing. It's been
Was it
Boise,
surprising, though, knowing that how many people they've lost up front?
It's got to be really surprising. They've been like top 10 caliber run defense 8 of the last 10 years, and they're allowing, I don't know what the number is, 170, I think, per game on the ground. And you're facing Air Force, they average 400 yards per game on the ground.
But that was also the biggest question, I think, coming into the season is how is the defensive line with the loss of the players that they lost last year gonna do?
Right.
And they've not been great. They've not been good. That was the biggest that was one of the biggest questions, at least, is how is the defensive front going to fare with so many new faces? And they're not really a big defensive line. And so far, they failed the test.
Yeah, I almost want to find it, but I'm not going to be able to in real time. Like San Diego State against the run this year, I don't know what it is nationally, but again, when you look at Boise State, Oregon State, and UCLA and what they've done against those run units the last 3 weeks, and I'm with you. Listen, UCLA is a really good team, top 25 caliber. Same thing with Oregon State. Boise State could be really good, but it's like it doesn't get easier against Air Force. That's for sure. And stopping the run when all they're going to do is try to run.
I know.
So it absolutely doesn't get easier, and you're right. They need to be able to clean up the tackling. Like it has to start with cleaning up the tackling. I can't find it, Jim, but I will at some point.
You've seen these games. Like, you've watched these games. I've watched these games.
Yeah.
Like, without seeing any numbers, I just know that they're not good in stopping the run this year.
They have not been, no.
Like, I don't need any numbers to tell me
You don't
that.
need numbers.
No. Like, I see it with my own 2 eyes. You see it. Everyone does see it.
I got numbers. What do you want?
I'm looking for rush defense, like team total. Like, where do they rank among the 130-plus rush defenses in the country?
Well, they're giving up 5.12 yards a carry.
Okay.
They've given up 8 rushing touchdowns, and they're giving up just under 164 yards a game, 163.8.
Okay. Well,
that's horrible.
Here we go. Thank you, Jim. Here's where they are in rush defense, 100th in the nation coming into this game. And by the way, it's not this team averages 300-something yards per game on the ground, Air Force, because that's all they're going to do. So, again, we'd have to look back, but there have been years, Jim, where San Diego State's had a top 3 rush defense in America across all 10 FBS leagues.
Not right now.
Not right now. So that's something they can do better than they've done because we've seen it firsthand previously. Let's update our listeners on what's going on, Jim. What is going on?
Well, right now, we are in – what inning is it in Pittsburgh? Bottom of the 5th.
Yep.
Pirates are leading the Marlins 3-0.
Okay.
We are bottom of the 2nd in Chicago. It is now scoreless. Old Padre friend Trace Thompson is playing for the White Sox. He is at the plate right now.
Okay.
And we have the Reds taking on the Cardinals. That game is about to get underway in St. Louis. And the Cubs are taking on the Brewers with old friend Colin Ray pitching for the Milwaukee Brewers
Not
tonight.
Brandon Woodruff, by the way.
Not Brandon Woodruff. That game is in the top of the 1st inning right now.
And let me guess, the Cubs have not scored. That would be the MO for the Cubs.
Right. There's 2 outs there, the scoreless.
Yeah.
Top of the 1st.
Doesn't shock me.
But things are happening. Things are absolutely happening. Chaos is around the corner, even though it's still a 1 in 100 chance of it happening.
I think coming into tonight, it's less than 1 in 100 coming into tonight, and that'll change if they get through tonight.
And it all is because of of last night with the Marlins and the Mets.
Correct. It could have been over if that game finished. Or maybe the Mets would have won.
I know.
Right? We don't know.
But we're potentially going to go to Monday with the Marlins needing to just get 3 outs.
Like you always say, are we? I mean, who would have ever thought this? Like even to
didn't.
this point, to get to the final weekend,
I didn't.
mathematically
No,
alive.
I didn't. I did not think that they had any chance to get to this point in the season, this Friday, and still be mathematically in it.
Right.
I give them credit.
Now they needed a rain delay. They needed the Mets grounds crew.
Yeah, I give them credit.
Mm-hmm.
And for everybody blaming luck this year for the reason why the Padres are where they are,
They've gotten some luck.
You better start thanking luck for getting the Padres to this Friday still being mathematically alive.
Well, it's not even luck anymore. Now they got that rainstorm. Now it's like an act of God.
True.
It is.
Last night in New York, yeah. Yeah, like seriously, in the 9th inning, it started to rain. Like if the game was an earlier game, getaway day, by the way.
But the Marlins just took the lead, though.
Correct.
It wasn't like the Mets were
No,
up 1-0. That game would have been over. It'd have been more of an act of God, like Brent said, if the Marlins were batting at the top of the 9th inning, still trailing, and then it started to rain.
True.
And then baseball, they called it, and the Mets would have won that game by default.
How about people pushing this narrative last night? I'm seeing some Padres fans do it as well. I'm like, come on. This idea that, well, the game should revert back to the score after 8 innings because the game can't be completed, and the Mets didn't have a chance to finish the 9th inning. I'm like, you haven't been watching. No. Baseball doesn't do that anymore. They suspend the game. They're not going to revert back and say the Mets won the game when they're trailing 2-1. There's no reverting back at this point.
No.
With playoff spots on the line and seeding, we're going to revert back.
Skip Schumacher might literally fight somebody if that happened.
He might fight someone anyway. This team's getting in at 5 a.m. to Pittsburgh after last night's disaster.
He was so mad.
I mean, they can still be on the outside looking in regardless of the Padres.
I know.
Because of what's going on with the Cubs.
Right. So,
and the Reds.
The Marlins aren't even.
Yeah.
I feel like the Marlins aren't even thinking about the Padres.
No, they're not tonight. They're not. No way.
Cubs, they're not even thinking about the Padres. Reds are not thinking about the Padres.
Maybe in a day or two, they could be.
Maybe. Hey, and when in doubt, just put Blake Snell on the broadcast. You're right.
Yes, he's on the broadcast, right? Yeah.
When in doubt, just put Blake Snell on the broadcast.
That's like the good luck charm. They love doing that.
Oh, man.
You think they're asking him, like, are you going to pitch Sunday? He's like, I hope not.
He's like, actually,
I hope this thing's over by then.
He's like, lie detector test?
I'm not trying to gear up.
I want to go to Cancun with my girlfriend. I don't want to be here anymore.
Is it true or not? Did his girlfriend post thank you, San Diego on Instagram?
Yeah, she posted a picture from like the mountains or something.
Right, like of the city.
Yeah, and she did a peace sign, like peace out San Diego.
So do you think that means 6 years, 200? For him to come back?
For who, the Dodgers?
For Snell to come back. Is she putting pressure on Preller and Seidler?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not.
Probably not. It's
Did you see this story so Ursillo's calling a game for TBS earlier this week. That's why Jesse Agler was doing TV. And it was in Seattle. And Blake Snell sent food from Seattle to the booth for Don Ursillo. Like, that's how much Blake Snell is like. This relationship between Don and Mud and Blake Snell is to the point where Blake Snell's ordering food for the TBS crew in Seattle. Is that weird to you or not?
A little weird.
They're like best friends. I told you when I worked in minor league baseball, I worked in the minors.
Oh, really?
There's always a guy that's got a close relationship with the broadcasters. It's a little odd.
It is a little
Blake Snell's that guy.
He's that guy.
He's that guy, man.
I just think that he relates more and just has a better relationship with people that aren't in that clubhouse.
Than his teammates. Exactly. I agree. I really do. I think he's just got that kind of personality.
It's a little weird. It's kind of, I don't know how to describe it, other than it's a little weird.
I mean,
here's the question. Wherever Blake Snell goes, do you think he's still going to keep in contact with Don Ursillo?
Do you think he'll do the hook up from let's go to the Mariners dugout, even though Seattle's playing or the Padres are playing like the Mets? Let's check in with Blake Snell.
Does he still do that with people in Tampa? Or is that all fake?
I don't know.
Or is that fake too?
No, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, okay, real quick on Snell. So he's literally hours away maybe from a Cy Young because his season's almost finished.
Maybe
he's got the 2018 Cy Young with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
If he gets to a third team, did we talk about that? Has anyone won Cy Youngs with 3 teams? Did we look that up? I forget if we looked it up, but I'm saying that's rarefied air. I think we said there's only 7 guys to do it with 2 teams, and he'd be one of them.
3 teams? I don't know.
I don't know if anyone's done it.
I don't think anyone's done it with 3 teams.
And I also think he's the rare example of someone that could win 3 Cy Youngs and not make the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, because his numbers aren't good enough.
They're not good enough. He could get another one.
He's had 2 good seasons in his entire career,
and they've been great.
And they've both been Cy Youngs.
Isn't that amazing?
That's it.
So barring 5 Cy Youngs, he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Josh Bell just hit one 1,000 feet.
Foul.
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 Uh,
yes.
I am.
Dude, this is overload. This is like the playoffs last year.
I'm like,
Remember that?
I'm like, oh, it's happening.
So we're at Fair Play. This is the spot for this, by the way. College football, Padres, Marlins, Cubs, Reds. Okay? They have it all for you here at Fair Play in North Park. It's beginning to fill up on this Friday afternoon. We're here until 6. A weekend that, I mean, it's really fascinating because on the other side, it's like when you go to Vegas, you're like, I don't even want to think about Monday, man.
No.
Let's just enjoy it tonight. Let's enjoy this weekend.
Because we know Monday, actually, there won't be any consequences.
There could be.
But Monday, mom and dad are going to a therapist or whatever. There's definitely going to be discussions about, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that.
So let's just live it up, man. We're in Vegas right now. I know it's not going to be good when we get back.
YOLO.
I got to work at 5:40 a.m. on Monday. I've been thinking about it. Don't even think about it. Just think about your weekend. And that's what the Padres are doing right now.
Exactly.
Enjoy Chicago. Go see the Bean.
I found one pitcher who won 3 Cy Youngs with 3 different teams.
Who?
Roger Clemens.
Yeah, it's a good example.
Toronto, the Red Sox, and the Yankees.
How can we not think of that?
I know. I should have thought of that.
We're idiots.
But I think that's
idiots. We don't know baseball.
Yeah, it's got to be the only one, right, Brett?
As far as I can see so far, yeah.
I can't think of anybody else that was won 3 Cy Youngs.
That's a lot of Cy Youngs.
I didn't even think of.
Well, there's a bunch of them that won 3, but not for different teams.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we'll be at Fair Play until 6 o'clock. There's more to get to, including Jim's back page. Plus, we spoke with Kevin Acee earlier. If you missed that conversation, we'll share some of the insight that Kevin had from Chicago as the Padres kick off this series. Mentioned Jim's back page still ahead as well. Get to Fair Play in North Park. Kick off your weekend here. We're here until 6. This is the spot to be Padres fans. This is the spot to be college football fans. Did you know I was here last Saturday?
Yeah, I saw
watching what did I watch? Colorado,
football?
Oregon. Yeah, college football. This is a great spot. So get here this weekend if you are a sports fan. On the other side, what Kevin Acee had to share with us earlier today on Jon and Jim, plus Jim's back page, plus updates from Chicago and around Major League Baseball right here on Jon and Jim. Hey, guys, it is Schaefer. I've been telling you about my friends over at Windmill Farms. This is the spot to get to for all of your game day and weekend needs. They are the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered every work week, and they've got you covered every weekend as well. They'll get you ready for football this weekend because they've got the food for you that you're looking for, whether it's organic, farm-fresh produce and meats or their craft beer selection, which is literally unmatched. It's incredible. They've got the full deli we've told you about with the award-winning sandwiches where they've got such good ingredients. They really concern themselves with their ingredients, and they're keeping the prices as low as possible. You're not going to find more affordable sandwiches in San Diego. And with the sandwich card, every 8th sandwich is free. So get there during your work week for lunch. They're centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard, right across the freeway, right by Montezuma Mesa. Windmill Farms is family-owned, and they're your family-owned market serving the San Diego area for 20 years. You can always visit windmillfarmsmarket.com. There you'll see their weekly specials. You can always check them out on Instacart as well. That's where you can have your groceries delivered to your doorstep. So start your weekend at Windmill Farms. And a reminder, shop local, shop at Windmill Farms.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres, White Sox, game 1 of their 3-game series. Scoreless in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Other scores around baseball that matter to the Padres. Pittsburgh leading the Marlins 3-0 in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Reds have taken a 3-0 lead over the Cardinals. I can't see the scoreboard over there, but I believe it's scoreless between the Cubs and the Brewers in the top of the 2nd inning there. Other news around baseball today, the Giants, they fired their manager after 4 years, Gabe Kapler. And the Aztecs, they take on Air Force tomorrow afternoon, 5 p.m. kickoff. Our pregame coverage starts at 3 p.m. Special pregame coverage at AleSmith Brewing. You can listen to the pregame and the game, of course, right here on San Diego Sports 760. This update's been brought to you by Staples.
6 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Really intriguing start to your weekend with all this baseball underway. Padres still alive for that final wild card spot in the National League. As unlikely as it is, they are still alive. And remember 3 hours ago when we started the show, essentially, with what happened earlier today in San Francisco, the Giants firing Gabe Kapler after 4 seasons. What is that going to mean potentially for the Padres? Kind of shifted gears here. That's what we said to start the show. It's like you got one eye on this weekend because you never know.
Yep.
You got one eye on Monday because we don't know what's going to happen Monday. And the additional intrigue that's been like kind of thrown in there now that Gabe Kapler's been fired, is that going to mean anything for Bob Melvin's future?
How could it not? How could it not? Now, look, they obviously can't go on the record in San Francisco and say that Bob Melvin is someone that we would love to have
because
here.
He's under contract.
Exactly. But it is interesting with everything that's been reported of late with the civil war between Melvin and Preller, the how they can't work together. Dennis has talked about it, like firmly said, I don't see how they can work together. I just don't. Now, Kevin has said kind of the opposite, how it's like, well, he believes that they're both going to be back because that's the preference of Peter Seidler. But the notion of Bob Melvin having zero say in this and zero leverage, I think is completely false. I just do. If Melvin does not want to be here, he doesn't have to be here. If Melvin goes in there and says, look, I'll return, but like I can't return with him, and by him I mean AJ Preller, then what's the organization going to choose? Are they going to choose Melvin or are they going to choose Preller? Or do they just fire them both? I don't know what's going to happen, but the wrinkle that the Giants threw in the whole equation today is interesting to look at.
You know what's interesting is that in the statement that the Giants released, it was their president of baseball operations, Farhan Zaidi, that recommended to ownership to fire Gabe Kapler, and ownership agreed. As in, it started with Zaidi, not ownership, where we're led to believe what's going to happen on Monday starts with Peter Seidler and his group. It doesn't start with AJ Preller, you wouldn't think.
No.
In terms of determining Bob Melvin's future, because we don't even know what they're going to decide on AJ Preller.
Because Preller should be on the hot seat. This notion that he's that nothing's wrong and they just need to work some things out and just have better communications. Like, give me a freaking break, dude. We went through the same thing in 2021. The same thing. Lack of communication, molehills becoming mountains, or whatever the phrasing was, right? Micromanaging.
Right.
Dude, that's not changing with Preller. It might change for a little bit, but Preller will always be that guy. Always. You can't change a zebra's stripes. That is who Preller is. Mm-hmm. You might get him to fool you for a little while, but over the course of time, if he remains here for however many years, up until 2026, you can't tell me that there is no chance he continues to revert back to this lack of communication, micromanager, dysfunctional franchise president of baseball operations.
By the way, if you don't retain Bob Melvin, it's not like you get the first pick of the litter potentially. Terry Francona retiring in Cleveland. Final years of deals for Craig Counsell, Dusty Baker, Phil Nevin. We don't know about the Mets with Buck Showalter. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be vacancies, and it's not like you're getting the first choice automatically just because you're the San Diego Padres.
That's even more reason to make sure you do everything you possibly can to keep Bob Melvin here.
Don't you think?
Who do you think is more important to next season, Bob Melvin or AJ Preller?
Just for next season in general?
Yeah.
It's probably the player. It's probably the person that's in the clubhouse in terms of, I don't know. It's hard to say because it's Preller, obviously, that's going to determine who's in the clubhouse. So it's hard for me to say. Who would you would say Melvin?
I think I would go with Melvin.
Interesting.
Like the immediate future. Who is more important to this team next year? I think it's Bob Melvin.
Interesting.
I think you need to have that clubhouse, and look, everyone's like, well, Bob didn't cut out all of the crap that happened in that clubhouse between Manny and Bo. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are some things in that clubhouse that all definitely needs to change. Players, everything. Yeah. Everything that has happened in that clubhouse, there needs to be a full, what's the word? Investigation of some sort of what happened in that clubhouse to make sure it doesn't happen again. But I just think for next year's success, I think Bob Melvin is more important than AJ Preller.
But okay, to that point, and that may be fair, but it's like we keep talking about the money that Preller has tied up in 2024, like 180 with Soto, maybe more.
Yeah.
Giants next year under contract, 110. Okay, $70 million less, giving them flexibility. You know what the Giants have under contract for 2025? $44 million. So all kinds of flexibility. We've used that word so much this summer with the Padres. No flexibility. Hands are tied. Giants have all the flexibility in the world. That doesn't mean they're able to win immediately, right? They have to improve the roster. They haven't been good the last 2 years. But I think if I'm Bob Melvin, I got to ask myself this question, and I don't know the answer to this. What gives me a better chance to win as a manager? Is it San Diego or is it San Francisco? That's the only question I would be asking. I've done everything as a manager but win a World Series. That's what I want to do. Yeah. Can I do it in San Diego or not? That's what I'm asking myself.
That's the question. That's the question. Does peace of mind matter a lot? Because if that does, then I don't know if San Diego is the right spot for him. If peace of mind is like, and having a good working relationship with your boss, something that matters a lot to Melvin.
Right.
Because if it does, then how can San Diego be the best spot? If you put that much emphasis on your relationships, your communication, the analytics, the roster construction. How many times did Bob Melvin this year called out AJ Preller without calling out AJ Preller?
6, 8, 10.
Is that going to change?
Especially
with the lack of payroll flexibility next year?
Yeah.
You have a lot of things that are going on here. And this time on Monday, who knows if we have a decision on things, knowing the Padres, they'll take forever on it. But maybe we do. Maybe this time next Monday on Jon and Jim, we get the breaking news.
301.
601.
Yeah, exactly.
They would do that.
600.
601. Yeah.
Yep. Now, I will say this. As we're watching all these games play out, the Padres right now, again, still mathematically alive. They're in a scoreless game in the fourth inning in Chicago. Marlins do not look good tonight in Pittsburgh. They're losing 3-0. That's good for the Padres. What isn't good is Cincinnati leading St. Louis tonight at Busch. However, Cincinnati cannot eliminate San Diego tonight. They need to win the series to eliminate San Diego. This would be a game one win of that series. They lead 3-0. And Cubs Brewers is scoreless right now in the bottom of the second inning. So it's a lot. It's honestly a lot to process. And I never thought we'd be in this spot, but here we are, and we're at Fair Play in North Park where they've got all the games on. We're watching the Cubs, Padres, Marlins, college football, and more. Make sure to get here this weekend. This is where you want to be this weekend. Fair Play in North Park. Join us tomorrow from AleSmith, by the way. San Diego State and Air Force is tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific. Our pregame coverage will begin from AleSmith Brewing. That'll be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Jim Russell will be in the house, by the way, tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I will be. Even though my name's not on the pregame show, but I'll be there. Still,
wow.
5 weeks in.
Next year.
Yeah, okay.
Don't hold your breath, actually.
I won't, because if I did, I'd be dead.
Okay, here's what
That's
we're
how
going
it
to do.
works.
I know.
That's true. So, yeah, again, join us tomorrow. We've got a watch party for you beginning at 3 o'clock. San Diego State Air Force. We've talked about how important that game is for the Aztecs. We'll have it for you, of course, right here on San Diego Sports 760. Ted Leitner, Rich Orenberger on their way for Colorado Springs. They'll be on the call tomorrow at 5 p.m. We're going to step aside. On the other side of a break, Jim's back page. He's going to try to do that while watching all the baseball going on this Friday late afternoon here at Fair Play. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim. All right, an update on the Padres underway in Chicago against the White Sox, plus updates around Major League Baseball impacting the Padres and Jim's back page from Fair Play. That's next. All right, final time here from Fair Play, kicking off your weekend on a Friday in North Park, where we've been watching the Padres all day long. Other Major League Baseball action. Padres to the fifth inning, scoreless in Chicago against the White Sox. Marlins still trailing. Reds, by the way, Jim, right now all over the Cardinals, but they cannot eliminate the Padres tonight. They need to win that series. They lead 7-0. What's the Cubs score?
0-0.
Okay, so 2 outs, top of the third inning. Cubs and Brewers
Runner in
scoreless.
scoring position for the Cubs.
Okay, runner in scoring position for the Cubs. Padres need a Brewers win. There's your update.
There you go.
There's your update. We'll be watching.
Did anybody think the Marlins were going to win tonight, though, after getting in at 5 a.m.?
I don't know. I think they were favorite. Slight favorite tonight in Pittsburgh. They just have something
They're rope-a-doping them.
Yeah, maybe.
Pittsburgh's the greatest spoiler team in the history.
They've been really good.
Sport.
All right, let's get to this.
Yeah, the Taylor Swift stories aren't dying down.
Oh, my gosh. I'd forgotten for a moment.
So Taylor Swift is expected to be at the Jets-Chiefs game Sunday night in New York. Well, the NFL is definitely taking advantage of this. Mm-hmm. The NFL will be giving away 1989 Sunday ticket themed friendship bracelets to Chiefs fans at MetLife Stadium in, quote, honor of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
What does that have to do with 1989?
Well, that's her like
song or something.
That's her album. One of her albums is made in 1989.
You have to stop assuming everyone is a Swiftie like you, Jim.
True.
And you have to explain
Was
this
she
thing
born
to
in 89?
us. Yeah, see, I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So the Sunday ticket friendship bracelet will have New York, like the things on the bracelet are like New York loves KC, and then NFL Sunday ticket era, and they're just giving these out to people with the Sunday ticket, and there's like a QR code on it, so you can get the new Sunday ticket on YouTube TV. They are taking this thing and trying to market the hell out of it.
They really are. How can you blame them, right?
I mean,
Taylor Swift's like the most popular person in the world, or one of them.
Well, the amount of money that she creates wherever she goes, it's like she could just. I saw a funny tweet the other day. They said Taylor Swift would get the Oakland A's to stay in Oakland if she just wore a Cell T-shirt.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
like if she just wore a Cell T-shirt, she could get the A's to stay in Oakland.
Probably.
Taco Bell is releasing a new sauce, John. It is a new nacho vegan sauce.
Nacho vegan.
John is not listening.
I'm not listening
at all.
But
because
I'm
watching the
hot
Padres.
sauce wasn't vegan to start with.
Beginning October 12th, customers can get a side of special vegan nacho cheese dip to accompany any order of nacho fries. So, yeah, there you go.
I'll be over there this weekend.
I bet you will. Did you know, John, that there was an arrest made last night? And you're like, oh, there was arrest happens all the time.
Sure.
This one's different. This arrest was because this person is a suspect now for the 1996 shooting of Tupac.
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
In
right?
Las Vegas.
Yep.
That took a long time.
Yeah, I mean, nearly 3 decades. Nearly 3 decades. Yeah, that's incredible. Was there more information today on it? There was, right? Like who was arrested? That's been released. I think they said whoever's been arrested. I think that's public information now.
Okay, let me see.
No, you don't have that?
No, I don't have the name of the person that was actually arrested.
What's the name?
Dwayne Keffy D. Davis.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Interesting. So that's a 27-year,
It says
arrest.
he isn't the accused gunman, but was described as the group's ringleader.
Wow. That's
interesting.
crazy.
All right. And finally,
and
SeaWorld.
real quick, and in Nevada, it says you can be charged with a crime, including murder, if you help someone commit it, even if you didn't pull the trigger. So,
okay.
Wow.
Makes sense.
27 years later.
That's amazing.
And SeaWorld is this is a first. A new jellyfish exhibit is coming to SeaWorld in 2024.
Okay. What does that entail? Jellyfish.
It entails jellyfish.
Okay, yeah.
Like, SeaWorld First is coming to San Diego as the theme park will be home to a new jellyfish exhibit, Jewels of the Sea, the Jellyfish Experience, showcasing jelly species glowing with a glowing internal light. This will come in 2024.
2024. Okay, I like that. I like jellyfish.
And did you know that the NFL, moving on to my final story, the NFL is to stream a Toy Story live animation version of the London football game this Sunday between the Falcons and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So what does that mean?
That I still won't watch it?
Yeah. They're going to be streaming, I guess, like an animated game in Andy's room, because Toy Story.
Okay.
Andy's the kid.
Okay.
And they're all going to be Toy Story animations.
And where can we watch this? Nickelodeon? Or is this
ESPN, I think. Not the main one. I think it's on the Deuce or something.
ESPN 7.
It's on the Ocho.
ESPN U.
The Ocho.
Good question.
ESPN's KidCast. Wait, what is this? Yeah, ESPN.
Oh, wow. Like the real ESPN.
Yes. Oh, sorry. This will be streamed live on Disney Plus and ESPN Plus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go.
Would you watch that?
No.
I would.
No chance of no.
What if it was the 49ers?
No, because I'd actually watch I'd watch the
you
real
watch
49ers.
the real, not the Toy Story.
Not the Toy
Niners?
Story version. I don't want to see.
Didn't they do
Buzz
the
Lightyear.
Nickelodeon where like a touchdown is scored and then green slime like appears on the screen?
Yeah, that was awesome.
They still do that.
That was great.
That was pretty cool. Is that like the future of NFL broadcasts?
No, I hope not.
Like Star Wars theme.
Dude, it's all a marketing play, bro.
Yeah, just like Taylor Swift, right?
Exactly like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And they got to capitalize, man. It's all about clicks in today's society, even though Dan Lanning thinks it's not.
Dude, tonight's gonna be interesting. Padres and White Sox scoreless in the fifth. Padres threatening 2 on, nobody out. They're on the corners.
Cubs now scoreless
and
remain scoreless after 3.
Yeah. This is very fascinating. Let's see. It looks like the Padres have taken a lead on a sac fly. They have 1-0 Padres.
Oh boy.
How about that? Padres lead, a win coupled with the Marlins lost their losing and the Cubs lost their tied, and the Padres will live to see another day. Another day.
Wow.
The second to last day of the regular season, kind of. Season could continue into Monday. Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Is the music playing?
Yes.
All right. Great job, everyone, out here today at Fair Play, our crew. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on YouTube, Jon Jim 760. Just search for us. Follow us on social media at Jon and Jim. That is JONANDJIM. We are back Monday. Join us tomorrow. AleSmith Watch Party. We'll get you ready for San Diego State and Air Force beginning at 3 p.m. For Brent and Jim, I'm Jon. Keep it here. It's the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Bye-bye.
Saw, dude.